Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Bring the noise.
You're sweating now, but wait till the winter comes around. It won't be sweat that pours from your brow, just the cold tears of the hard-driven rain.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, afternoon, good morning, folks, and welcome to a very special E-Tims podcast. My name is Desi and I am very, very glad to say today we have a very special guest. You may have heard it mentioned recently that a certain person won the E-Tims Celeb Celtic of the Year award and failed to turn up to collect that award. Well, I'm glad to say he has turned up today. So Wilk is very well, I'll give you his name in a second, but first his role of honour. He is the E-Tims Celeb Celtic of the Year 2024. He is the biggest exponent of the Douglas Ross meme 2022 to 2024. He is the honorary president of the King Charles Appreciation Society. If anyone follows him on Twitter, you'll know that is the biggest laugh out of the whole. And then, so basically, from the sunny Suicide, but now a West End lovey, as he's officially known in E-Tims, standing next to Lenny in the tennis bar, Robert Hodgens, a.k.a. the Miraculous Vespers, a.k.a. Bobby Bluebell from the Bluebells, the Poems, and so much more. Welcome to the E-Tims podcast, Bobby.
Thanks, Desi. By the way, is there actually an award?
Well, if you not received it, that's Royal Mail for you. Paul Lyons will be complaining. No, I actually did look up the possibility of getting gold E's created. So we may work on those and try and get them to you for the big. We maybe actually come onto the Barrowlands stage and present it in February.
Oh, listen, please do that. That would be very cheap for that one.
That would be a nice encore. I don't know if the fans would appreciate it as much as we would, but that would be an interesting. Right. So thank you very much for joining us. Let's rattle through this. We've only got an hour. So honoured for you to join us. We've got a lot to get through. Right, but first things first, we can't escape the elephant in the room. The name, right? The name thing.
The Bluebells.
Hodgens. You don't get
Hodgens.
that name to the pound, do you? Let's be honest. Where did that name come from?
My father.
Yeah. No, I just want that to be a wee change for you getting the usual Bobby Bluebell platter.
I don't mind it. I don't mind any of it, to be honest. I don't mind any of it. I'm very proud of my Father's Day. My father his family were from Northern Ireland. They were good Protestant stock. My dad worked in the shipyards in Govan his whole life since he was 16 till he retired, actually. So and then of course in Govan he married an Italian. My mother obviously from Italy. So for a while he was persona non gratis, I guess, in the Govan team.
Yeah. Hey, so growing up, so where were you brought up then? Paisley Road West, is that right?
Well, started off in Govan, right on Govan. I was born in Govan Road, right, in a tenement there, and I think it was about 5 when I moved up to. We got decanted up to. Well, we got moved up to Creighton, which was posh at the time. It was nicknamed the White City Greyhounds. It's right next to Barrowlands Park, the Palace of Art, and then I started going to Lourdes along Paisley Road West, Lady Lourdes Primary, and then secondary school.
Yeah, that's why, because I was Greenfield Street in Govan. I think I managed Primary 1 in St Constantine's, and then
my brothers went to St Anthony's, and
then we get moved out to Torry Glen, so that's how I ended up in Torry Glen. But it's nice to have a fellow suicider on the podcast. Usually it's this year.
I must admit, I really love Govan. I think it's a fantastic place.
Yeah. I always love how all the historical, it's always the parish of Govan. No, like it was its own wee place, or even big place back in the day, but it was its own place and then get incorporated into the Glasgow Corporation.
They paid for it. Glasgow paid for it, £70,000 for the West End was Govan and Partick. It was joined together because you could walk across the river at certain times. Where the ferry is now, where the bridge is now. So it was a Govan parish. My wee boy's school is in the West End, but it was called Govan Parish even here.
Yeah, you could just you see it a lot of the old schools, the cold Govan Parish School Board, etc. So welcome everyone to the Govan Appreciation Society podcast. We're really glad you could make it. Right, so okay, let's cut to the chase. Bobby Bluebell then, right? So Robert Hodgens. At which point does Robert Hodgens become AKA Bobby Bluebell? Where did that come from?
That came from Edwyn Collins from Orange Juice. We used to be good friends. I hope we're still good friends, but we were really good friends back in the early 80s, turn of 80, 81 kind of period. And I wasn't in a band yet, but I was starting to do the Bluebells, and he made up a little ditty about sitting Bobby Bluebell on his knee, you know, right? Because he was like a sort of like a mentor for me. He was what really helped me get into songwriting, to be honest.
Yeah. So I'll tell you brutally honest, I have tried to avoid watching or listening to any previous chats. This so you don't get bored with repetition, the same old questions, and B, I didn't want to kind of get influenced or even know what the answers were, if you know what I mean. But I did see a wee 10 minutes of you this morning, and you were talking about Edwyn Collins and a guy Andy, and the cafe, and he used to do hit and miss, etc. regards records.
It was Alan Horn. It was in the art school. My first band were called the Oxfam Warriors, which was a really sort of like formed by Altered Images manager Jerry for me. It was their friends, and that was the first band I played with, supporting Altered Images. And we did the art school one day, and Alan and my friend Robert Sharp and Edwyn came down and sat in the front with hit and miss cards for the songs, which was very embarrassing, as you can imagine. I like a lot of misses in there.
Okay, you can actually see that as a wee kind of video idea these days, couldn't you? Or back in the day, I don't know if videos that's such a big thing now. Right, actually, but that's right. So, yeah. I did hear you mention on that chat regards your fanzine, the 10 Commandments, and then I thought, that's a good band name. So why did you know? Because it turns out there was a Canadian band in 1987. I looked up on Discogs, but I thought that was a good band name for you. I liked the Bluebells because we wanted to be in the B section of the record shops. We wanted to be next to the Beatles and the Buzzcocks and Big Star. That's good.
So and especially the Birds. So and also there was the Scottish Bluebell matches were in the papers.
Yep, remember them well.
Yeah, they were going bust. So I just thought, well, that's a nice name, you know. Similar to the Beatles.
Yeah, and before we forget, marketing. Potential. If anyone from Iron Brew is listening, we did have the Brewbells image pop up for Union Street the other day. Remember the old sign used to have above Central Station? So if anyone from Iron Brew is, please contact Robert. He may be interested in a potential marketing campaign for the Brewbells. Anything that involves free money, I'll take it on. Right. So where are we? Let me see. Yeah, right. So we've got. So you're pals with Edwyn, you're just getting interested in the scene, Altered Images, etc., etc. How did the Bluebells themselves then come together? Because it's you, a boy for the Suicide, and then two guys from Hamilton, then another couple of people.
From Boswell. It started because after the art school hit and miss thing, Alan Horn, and I really wanted to be on Postcard Records, said that I had to sack the band because there were Neds from the south side. Boy, was he so wrong about that. But I did. So the first person I really asked was David McCluskey from a band called Rodeo, and he was from Hamilton. He was about 15 at 16 when I first met him. He's a brilliant drummer, but at 15, he really reminded me a lot of Keith Moon from The Who. He was just all action. And then our friend Russell worked in Virgin in the clothes shop. He was a kind of like a model kind of guy. He was a really good looking guy. He couldn't play the guitar, but that didn't really matter because I couldn't play the guitar very much either. And then we saw Lawrence Donegan walking down the road in a duffel coat. I just asked him to be in the band, and he said yes. And then through David, we managed to get his brother who had moved to London, Ken. Yep. And I was singing at first, but when Ken came up, he just came up with David, and then he was kind of playing tambourine and harmonica. And when we did our first gig, almost from the start, I thought he was a much better singer than me anyway, so I was happy to take a back seat on that one.
Nice. So that was right. So you get the band together, how long does it take then, the usual, I'm assuming this going in the pubs and clubs, how long does it take then to get your actual record deal, and how does that feel, if you could put it in?
It probably took us about a year and a half. It didn't take us long at all. I mean, at that point, Glasgow was like a sort of like a real kind of like attraction for all A&R men in Scotland. Orange Juice, obviously, all the images, Simple Minds had put Glasgow on the map, you know, and the Aztec camera were coming through, and Hips, well, not Hips Way, but later they came later on, but people like Positive Noise and End Games were getting deals. So we were just seen as being, people came up to see us because obviously we were playing with Orange Juice, not with Images. But the biggest break we had was we did the CCA for Scotland Week in London, and Elvis Costello came to see us, and he really loved us. So we ended up in the studio with him the next day, and I think that was kind of like a clincher for a lot of the record companies, was the fact that someone with his prestige was so obviously keen to work with us.
Yeah. So I this was a question I had a way down the list, as in, have you ever been starstruck? So was that the first starstruck moment then for when Elvis Costello? Or did you still have did you have the early 80s Glaswegian gameness about you to say?
Elvis, I think Elvis was more starstruck meeting us, to be honest. I mean, we were very outgoing people. And Elvis is a fantastic guy, by the way, but I don't think I've been starstruck by anybody, to be honest. I don't think in the music business, if you're in the music business, I was more starstruck by Edwyn, to be honest. You know what I mean? More starstruck by Rory Frame, people, you know, the talent that was here, Jim Kerr, you know, like it's funny that, you know, the music you love at the start is the kind of music that really gets to you. I mean, obviously, I've met people like Dylan's and Lou Reed's and Paul McCartney's briefly and things, and I've never been starstruck by them. I've always thought, I mean, I wrote a song with Brian Wilson. I never thought that would ever happen in my life, you know, but that was more like Monty Python than it was, you know.
Yeah, well, maybe that could be we could devote a full hour show to that. Maybe that would be good. But we're here to concentrate on you, right? So let's go way back. We've already jumped into the Bluebells, but we've got the record deal. That's great. But let's go back to the start, because Hector, who wanted to be here, they couldn't make it. Right. So before I forget, this whole conversation. Apologies, folks, for me jumping about here, but this whole conversation was kicked off after a Twitter conversation one night, whereby you or someone else put up the cover version for I'm Falling, right? The single I'm Falling, to which you gave your classic thumbs up on Twitter, and I replied, yes, my sliding door moment, right? That I'm Falling, and I've wrote here, back in the day, would I devote time to school, studying in school, and concentrating in football? I was playing with Leeds United at the time, concentrating in football.
You were brilliant.
No, I wasn't that good. This is exactly the sliding doors moment. Would I keep studying at school and try and kick on with football, or would I go drinking over in Kafkin Park on a Friday night with my pal Kevin Doogie, singing the lyrics to I'm Falling, which I could remember from that day to this day now. One bottle of Mary Down and a can of Breaker, and forever out of tune. So I've always cited I'm Falling as that point in my life.
That's beautiful.
This is how you spend your Friday nights. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bobby, for turning my life around. I don't know what direction it went, but it got us here. So thank you very much. But yeah, so if Doogie and Kev are listening, God bless you. I'm sure they can still sing every word to I'm Falling right now. We used to sit and looking into the park at pure strange. Now you can't even go into the Furlanner Park. They've got it all fenced off now, sadly. But we used to stand in the old stand when it gets converted it close to Tory Glen, and that's where we would drink our care out on a Friday night, singing I'm Falling.
You can't go there anymore. You can't go to that.
I've fenced it off because I think it's the Jimmy Johnson Academy use it, and people were kind of leaving broken glass and kind of ruining it a wee bit. So there's a wee bit of kind of standoff. It's a bit of a shame the way it's worked out. But if you ever do it, and I couldn't recommend it enough, if you ever get a chance to do the Hail History Southside tour, it starts at Queen's Park Cafe, and then does a wee tour and what's its right round Hampden and back to the Queen's Park Cafe. But Matt does a good wee talk about the current situation of Third Lanark and how Celtic played there and stuff.
Sounds good. Sounds really good.
Highly recommended. Right, so back to the start with you. Hector wants to know, what was your pathway to Celtic? You mentioned your dad was a good Protestant man from Northern Ireland. Did he bother with football? Did anyone in your family bother?
He wasn't from Northern Ireland per se. He was from Govan, but his family, his background, his grandparents were from Northern Ireland. But he was actually the guy that took me to Celtic. I mean, my first ever game was Rangers versus Hamilton, believe it or not. I was thinking it was about 6 or 7. But when I got to about 8 or 9, and obviously I was at a school called Lourdes Primary School, my dad said, look, he said, you should really go with your pals and see Celtic, you know. So he did take me up there, but he didn't come in. he left me at the door with my pals, man, you know. And then, which I'm really grateful for. I mean, it's like, you know, it's really important for me that I'm not interested in the bigotry side of it in any way. You know, and I mean, obviously people like my best friends like Graham Skinner and all that, Rangers fans and Davie Ross and things, but I mean, my dad was never bigoted, and I don't think any of his friends were. You know, I haven't come across a Rangers fan that is like that, to be honest. You know what I mean? And I talk about it on a friendly level. I know they're out there, and I know that's in all clubs. But I love football. I love Celtic, but at the same time too, I would never let it come between anything. You know, unless someone. I mean, good people are good people. You know, so
definitely.
And I noticed I'm friends with a lot of the players, and they're not interested in it in any side. You know, Jock Stein was a Protestant. You know, Ken Dalglish, you know, Scott Brown. I couldn't tell you a Protestant if I saw one on the street, or a Catholic, or a Jew, you know, or anything. And I don't like any of that. I'm not into any of that kind of, like, you know, I don't know, demarcation or segregation. I think I really miss the mixed crowds. I really miss having, you know, I don't know what's going on Rangers and Celtic that they don't let the fans in to see each other. I don't understand why that they can't encourage their fans to stop singing songs that might offend someone else. But if they do, they do. It doesn't. I mean, we all know it's just showing off, man. I don't think any of it's people. If people are into that, then God help them. You know, on either side.
Yeah. So that's your first football/Celtic memory. Yeah. What about your first music memory? Was it a musical family you were brought up in? Your mum was a talent?
No. I remember my mum used to buy records out at the cafe and where we lived, and you could buy old jukebox records when they finished with them for like 5p. So I used to play them, but I remember my mum bought me my first guitar. She took me up to the Trongate, you know, and bought it in a pawn shop for £5, and I couldn't play it. And then years later, she wanted me to go on holiday, and I refused to go. She said, "I'll buy you a proper guitar if you go." So she did. She bought out the Case catalogue, and I did really like that guitar a lot. I wish I'd kept it. But musically wise, it wasn't really. It was my friends at school, you know. I remember Johnny Burns, Johnny O'Hara, Frankie Burns, and Jerry, like Jerry McElhone. These were the guys that really took me. We all started going to gigs together about, when we started first year at secondary school, and it was all things like Bowie and the Stones at that point, and so it was a Deep Purple, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I remember, and we had the best time, we had a really great time, and we used to meet up in Pollock. I mean, you had Third we had Crookston Castle for our drinking spot, and I remember going up to Dormanside Road and Winhill Street and all that, and and then have to come home myself and walk back from Pollock, past every guy in Glasgow virtually to get home. But I wouldn't have changed it for a while. That was a really fantastic time, and that was the real birth of my music. My music loving was then,
Yeah, I was smiling there when you were mentioning your mum buying records in a cafe, because years later I used to work with a guy for Craigton, Graham. He stays in Australia now, Graham, and he stayed in Craigton. And Craigton Post Office used to sell the X-Jukebox CDs for a £5. Wow. So I remember buying the Carpenter's Greatest Hits, and I was over the moon.
It changed the CDs then. I didn't realise. It just shows you how that arm.
Right. So what's your first Celtic song memory, and your first actual musical song that you remember kind of grabbing your attention and going, oh, what's that? Or that really interests me?
What, Celtic? A Celtic song?
No, a Celtic song. I'm going both sides of the coin today. So we've got the Celtic side, we've got the music side. What's the first Celtic song you remember, or the first Celtic kind of connection?
I guess just the ones they still play at the ground. You know, we did it. We did me and Ken and Dave with for our friend called Willie Malloy, Celtic Supporters Club. We did a record for the anniversary in 1988, I think it was. And we did those songs, you know, follow, and I mean not follow. I mean, Grant, you know, bloody hell, you got me going here now, man. But we did those songs for that record, you know, and they played them at Parkhead, so that was always a real buzz. But obviously, You Never Walk Alone and things like that are the ones. But for me, the first song I can really remember as a child really loving was Sugar Sugar by the Arches, you know, and I think to this day it's still the one that I try to emulate the most, you know.
Yeah, well, that's interesting, because I spent this morning listening to the Poems Young America album, and that is a perfect pop record. I mean,
thank you so much.
That's a lovely. I mean, it's glorious. Honestly, God, great. And I was telling Hector, etc., they should go and get it for last night in Glasgow. But yeah, that whole kind of pop perfection. I love like the whole 3 minutes of Pop Wonder. I was saying before to somebody, one of my favourite records of all time, still my dad's Buddy Holly's Greatest Hits, because it used to be like 2.5 minutes, you know what I mean? And then 40 years later, I'd be listening to the Smiths, 2.5 minutes. No, but that way, that's all I needed, kind of thing. So I used to love that. What about Sugar Sugar? I knew I'm suddenly I've got shortening bread with the coasters in my head because I used to listen to it in the house. Right, so the first song that grabbed you, Celtic game. So what about the first gig you remember then, the first exposure to live music where you suddenly thought, this is a different level, again, a different level for this to hear on the radio or playing a single or an album?
Well, I mean, I went to lots of gigs, like I mentioned, obviously, Stardust and all those. Yeah, but I remember all of them, but the one that really the first time I really wanted to be in a band was seeing Orange Juice, actually, you know, because I'd seen all the images a lot, you know, and I loved them, but it didn't make me want to be in a band, really, you know. But when I saw Orange Juice the first time, I kind of like thought, oh, I want to do that. I think it's because I liked the guitars as much as anything, you know. Edwyn had a Blackhawk, Gretsch Blackhawk, and I think James had a kind of Rickenbacker kind of guitar, but I used both those guitars when we played Orange Juice. They let us use those guitars, you know, which is a real treat. But so I think that was the first time. I mean, the funny thing about music is I think it's the same with football, but you know, when I hear a good song or see a good band, I get really jealous, you know. I mean, like ferociously jealous, that you kind of like think, fuck, I wish I was doing that, you know. And it's like it's the same with football. Remember, like when we played football at school, we're always bagsing to be, you know, a player like, you know, like George Best or, you know, Douglas. And in bands, you kind of like imagine yourself as being. I used to imagine myself as being Roger McGuinn, you know, or you know, Joey Ramone, right? But you know, in the end, you're neither of them. You just have to be yourself in the end, you know. Yeah.
Quick question before I forget. If you were born 1959. Yeah. Did you have any memory at Lisbon, or was that too early?
No, I do. I remember. It's funny, like we're just talking with my dad there too. I remember two things I remember most about football are because they're very big memories. I remember the bus coming along Pays Road West, thinking from Abbots Inch Airport, and all the people on our street waving at the bus, right? You know, because I think it was a really strange week that for a few weeks, because I think Celtic won the European Cup, then Rangers were in the European Cup winners final, and I think the United had got to the semi-final. So it was like football was massive then, you know, and Scotland had just beat England, I think, too, in the, you know, we're about to beat England, I think.
Unofficial world champions.
Yeah, so football was a big thing, and I also remember my dad was at the Rangers game, you know, when the disaster happened, and I was all waiting for him to come back, and it was a kind of weird foggy night, and I remember him coming back, and then all the neighbours gathering up and then going back to Ibrox to see if they could help, you know. Which is always, I mean, I know these could be false memories or memories that you've been told by your parents, but these are the things. I mean, it's funny when you think about 6 and 7 years of age, you know, the things you remember, because you're never really sure, you know, are you remembering that, or have you seen a photograph of that? But I do like trying to remember back then. The older you get, the stranger your dreams become, I think, you know, and they all kind of relate back to your childhood, you know.
I've got again one of the pseudo dreams. I can't even, God knows, I left government when I was maybe 6, and it's having a denim jacket and silver studs getting put on the back of it by some guy who helped run the Celtic Supporters Club with my Dan Govan. Not that way, but I don't know if this is just again something that's popped into my head through the years, but for some reason it just. And one thing I did retain from my days in Govan is putting a brick on one of the sliding window ledges to create a tent with a paper blind, and of course the brick slid off the windowsill, and I've still got the butterfly stitches. So now as I'm losing my hair, that will become evident to everyone very soon. So that's I've retained part of my Govan heritage there.
I remember because we went to visit my granny every week in Elder Park Street, and my uncle who lived in Elder Park Street, and at that time it was an absolute slum tenement, you know, like puddles in the back, and you know, we went to St Constantine's every Sunday for mass, and then we went down to visit them, and I remember loving it, if you know what I mean. I remember loving, you know, playing. It was I mean, I see pictures of it now and I can't quite believe it, you know what I mean? And then my uncle had the only car in Elder Park Street, which I always really remember too, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It's right, like my pals for the Gorbals staying every now and again, you know, like when past Glasgow or somebody puts up the photos, and again, as you say, you can't believe it seems so recent. No, they'll say like Gorbals 1968, and this looks like a war zone, or Govan. You remember like. And
the Govan was mobbed all the time. It's funny, and also I really remember that when my dad and all his friends finished working and out at the weekends, they really dressed up. You know what I mean? It wasn't like it wasn't like now. You know, we went to the football. My dad wore his best clothes. You know what I mean? Like, you know, and like, so all these things, these sort of stick in your mind. You know, and also
there's a question for you then that'll be relevant to you, because if somebody put up a picture on Twitter the other day, and it was somebody dancing in a Girl Street. This were Dixon's, and that used to be our Curry's.
Yeah.
A Girl Street train station. Somebody dancing, and the crowd are looking, and it says something like Anne Marie dancing 1974, but every man's got a suit and tie on.
Yeah.
You know, like everybody's. It's like Saturday, the 5th of March, 1974. So again, do you think that was punk? Do you think that was punk, or do you think it was post-Vietnam War, whatever happened? Where did that generation die out and the casual generation come in?
I don't know. It's a hard question. I think it's a lot to do with being working class and having a job that involved hard labour, you know, physical labour. I think now a lot of those jobs are kind of gone, you know. Yeah. I think people. I don't know what it is. It is a strange one to see. It isn't just Scotland, obviously. This is worldwide, you know, and people seem to. I remember we used to go to Italy every year to visit my mum, and people there were incredibly dressed. Now when I go back, they're all in sports gear. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, like, and I don't know. I don't know what's happened, mate. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I think people stay at home a lot.
So welcome to the Social Culture through the Ages podcast, starring Robert Hodgins. No, this made a wee note there. Tim's podcast where Robert Hodgins gets cancelled due to singing Follow. So we'll just leave that out.
I didn't sing Follow.
I know. Go right here. I've quoted. Right. So let's kick on. Right. So we've kind of covered a few of the areas like the Celtic aspect, starting with Celtic. Couple of questions from people that I've got. Your favourite song by someone else, would that still be Sugar Sugar, or is through the ages have you started? Do you have any particular song you think, wow, that is it? Doesn't get much better.
Well, I mean, I've got millions of favourite songs. That's a tough one. I mean, it's like it all depends.
Have you got a funeral song?
Well, a football song?
A funeral song. Have you got a funeral song? A funeral song.
Funeral song.
For us to take me away.
I don't. Let me think. What could be my funeral song? I don't know. I have to give that one a bit of thought,
okay,
man, to be honest, man. Yeah.
Thank you for that. Right. So okay. Robert or Stephen McGrory asked, who are the songwriters that you admire most and why?
Oh well, I really a lot of people I've worked with. Obviously, as I mentioned before, Edwyn Collins. I really admire Johnny McElhone and Charlene Spiteri. You know, I work with them a lot. I really think they're great songwriters. You know, and I think that the record of hits speaks for itself. But Johnny's been in 3 or 4 bands.
Yep.
You know, really, again, going back to what we said before, Brian Wilson and Elvis Costello, obviously. But I mean, Ken McCluskey and Dave McCluskey in my own bands. You know, I mean, there's at the songwriting course that James Grant, another one, of course, too, James Skinner. But the songwriting course that we do in Tinnerbrook, the thing that really always strikes me about everybody that comes is the songs are really good. I mean, the first song that they sing is, and the thing is, I think what happens is, it's like everyone's got a song in them, but what we've learned over the years is, well, especially in my own case, when we finished the Bluebells, I was working a lot with a guy called Dave Stewart from the Rhythmics. He was my publisher, so I was kind of like a songwriter for hire, the kind of way that in the 60s Neil Sedaka and, you know, the Brill building was, where you had to go around and work with people and write a song for them on the spot, you know, because you could never turn up with a song that you'd written before, because they could kind of guess that you'd had this song before. You had to make it on the spot. So I learned that's a great way of doing it, you know. It's like it's when I meet people and they say, oh, I've got 20 songs, and I always think, I don't have any songs. I mean, I only have a song when there's something, when it comes to time to do it. Like we're doing a new album now, so I've got 3 or 4 songs on the go, and because they'll be on the album. But when you know, it's if you have to make it up on the spot, I think, and when there's a motive, it's only a song when it's a record or on a film or on when you can buy it, I think. Otherwise, it's just, I mean, you forget about it quick enough. I don't know how to explain it, but I think when you put on the spot, I think most of us could make a song up. You know.
I mean, we were talking beforehand, we came on, and the whole songwriting, the whole creative process astounds me. I always assumed it was this romantic muse speaking through the clouds on my shoulder, waking up for a dream and having these words.
Oh, it is.
So to speak.
You got it right. That's exactly what happens. That's pretty much as accurate as you could get. I mean, this is basically what happens, right? In my opinion, right? You listen to music all your life, right? And then you pick up a guitar, right? And somewhere in the back of your head or your subconscious, all that input that you've had into your head will come out. You know, the same way that, you know, like Bob Dylan, everyone says, oh, Bob Dylan stole a lot of those songs are old songs, like the Patriot Game, you know, like we did the Patriot Game, and he made it with God on our side, right? But it's an old song from hundreds of years. So what you get is you get this accumulation of music in your head, and you articulate it into your own way, and everyone's got a different lyric, you know, in their head. If you're writing about something, then you make it about something you know about, you know. So and this becomes a song. I'll tell you another thing too that you probably don't know anyway in the music business now is, right, if you write a song right now and it's getting recorded, the publishing company will put it through a computer to see if it sounds like anything else, algorithms, you know, right, and they'll flag it up saying this sounds like, you know, well, very soon there'll be no songs possible because every variation in the world will be flagged up, you know.
But again, the whole there's nothing new under the sun / counter plagiarism, but that's this. Yeah, exactly. Especially with AI.
I don't believe in plagiarism. I don't think there is any plagiarism. I mean, like when I was coming through meeting all these people, your famous, I don't want to go all name drops again, but people who had been in bands, they just tell you, if they start playing a song and someone says to them, that sounds like, you know, something else, they don't care. They just keep going with it, you know, because it's every song that's ever, you know, and the thing is, I'm quite chuffed if someone says, oh, that reminds me of that, because, you know, like I said, that's grabbing it out of the air, you know, but it's not the same song.
So this the other side of that. So when George Patterson references "Come on, Eileen," are you happy?
Yeah.
Are you happy with that?
Well, but the thing is, Joe, it's funny, right? Obviously, I mean, I'm going to have to name it again, but Helen Harder plays with us. I know Kevin really well, right? You know, they've never thought that in their whole lives. In fact, Kevin asked us to play at his wedding. Him and Helen were going to get married at one point, and they loved that. They loved John Hart. Helen was going to be the original violin player on it. You know, they're very different songs. I mean, just because they've got fiddles in them. But as I said to George on Twitter anyway, has he ever heard of Ernest Hemingway?
Exactly. Well, I just wrote here, hopefully he puts the same humour in his third novel. We can look forward to that. Right, quick, just a few quick Celtic questions before we forget. Favourite Celtic player? Favourite Celtic memory?
I've got two favourite Celtic players, and it's because I'm really good friends with both of them. Obviously, Neil and Frank McAvennie, you know, and you know, they've just been wonderful friends to me, and they were great players. Frank, I mean, I can always remember Frank's goals, you know, in the semi-final. We were all hamming up behind it, and I mean, and Neil, obviously you can't help but remember Neil for the Barcelona game, you know, and his fantastic tactics and a fantastic victory. That was a great Celtic team at that point too, you know. So it's like they are great memories. My favourite goal, I think everyone's favourite goal, is still Larsson chipping over the goalkeeper against Rangers, you know, like. Well, and all, but the most iconic goal in the whole history, Celtic's history, is obviously Tommy Gemmell's goal against Inter Milan, man. You know, that's just every schoolboy's dream. That goal, you know, that's a cartoon goal in it, the 25 yards. You know,
I just love the fullback to fullback. The fact that it's a fullback passing to a fullback.
Jim Craig lived in Craigton, but he lived around the corner from us, you know.
It's basically the Craigton Appreciation Society podcast. But again, it's like somebody put up there a good question of, if the Lisbon Lions were playing the day, could you imagine the stick they would get on Twitter? And it was, again, I'd put up, Mr. Steen, do you want to stop this? We will score one more goal than them and concentrate on defending. You know, that sort of way, like people are harking about the bogging backwards and.
It's a great point you're making, but too, I mean, we're 13 points ahead, you know, in the new year. We're in the European Cup still. I mean, what is there to complain about? I don't understand.
So if Hector was here, he'd be saying, thank you very much, because that's literally been his. I've been shouting about for a long, long time. Right, so what most memorable game you attended? You can remember? I know you sit in the fancy box seats now.
I do. I like the boxes, but my favourite game is because I was with my sadly departed best friend Scott McHugh at the time, and it was a Barcelona game, and I remember it because it was just the most fantastic day, and we dressed up for it. We went with our Crombie coats on, and you know, when you know, just to the Banyama's goal and then Tony Watt, and then even when they came back. And then afterwards, I mean, I can't think of a better game at Parkhead than that Barcelona game, you know. Yeah. And the whole world watched it as well. And that was Barcelona, probably the best team in the world at the time, you know. Yeah. We beat them fair and square.
I think after that was I wrote a song called Lionel Messi, You're a Jesse. Cheeked your hamstring, cried like a lassie. That was the glory days. Right.
I just can't believe you've not had a hit with that song.
Who knew? If you want to go to Sinister Boffy at Bandcamp, feel free, Bobby. You're more than welcome. Knock yourself out. we probably somebody else has probably wrote it somewhere else in the world. You know.
Well, can I just tell you, right? I had a hit song with Bewitched, and it was called Jesse Go Home. I thought it was.
Oh, there you go.
Oh no, Jesse Hold On. It was called. Sorry, but so there you go. So Jesse's already been a hit.
No, that's it. So the thing me, they beat his tape. Right, let me see where we are. Stevie does ask a quick question. Stevie, what's the best Velvet Underground song?
Oh well, I mean, I can't think of a bad Velvet Underground song, but the one that always sticks in my head, of course, is Sunday Morning, because it's the first song on side one of the Velvet Underground, and it's got that lovely little xylophone start and then a really beautiful lyric, beautifully sung. So I mean, and that song. It's one of the first songs I learned to play. It's so easy, that song to play, you know. So beautiful song. I've written one song. It might be that one, you know.
Right. Let me this talking about the xylophone. The the young America album I was listening to this morning. Is that how that finishes on? Is it
Yes.
Lost and Found? Aye, because
Yes.
I was enjoying that wee touch this morning. I'm like, that's nice to write this.
And that's where that came from. Probably was Sunday morning too, man. So there you
That's
go.
it, eh? Plagiarism, no such thing. Right.
No, you see, you keep calling it. It's inspiration. You call it.
Homage, right?
Homage,
Okay.
Yeah.
So here's another question I've always been intrigued about in the music industry. Do you remember your first ever rider demand?
Rider demand.
Have you ever made a rider demand, or has it always just been 6 cans and a fresh towel?
No, we don't really bother with the fresh towels. We just go. We're now onto the wines. Our wines is our thing. Now we did the Royal Concert Hall the other night there. The Bluebells. James was with us in the John McCusker. I think we drank 6 bottles of red, man. So I've got a real taste for red wine at the moment.
Nice. So hopefully the Barrowlands stocked up for the February 1st gig. But just before we forget,
no drinking before it.
Yeah, well, we wait and see that. Over to the Sarah Heat. Just before we forget, you did mention the songwriters there. So that's the Secret Coast Songwriters. That's been running for a while in Tina Brewick.
Yes, this will be, I think, our 4th one. We've got 2 classes this year, both sold out. Honestly, it's one of the best things I've ever done. It's the people you meet are just fantastic. The place is fun. I would never go to Tina Brewick in my life, right? It's a gorgeous place. The great thing about it is it works both ways for me and James, and Graham. We hopefully we help them and inspire the people who come, but definitely it inspires me. It definitely. It makes me love songwriting again. If you get my drift,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So there's also, I'm led to believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that the house that you staged it in. All the rooms are named after bands, and there's a Bluebells. Yeah. So do you get the Bluebells room?
Yeah, I do actually, but that's how it began, because Graham, who owns the house, wrote to me saying, "Can I name a room after you in my hotel?" And I goes, "Sure." And then he did the same for Deacon Blue and things. And then we got talking. He came to Glasgow and we went for a coffee, and he wanted me to be an in-house songwriter for the place. And I didn't know what that meant, but I'd been to songwriting courses before, and James had done songwriting courses. So it just seemed like a natural thing to do, and it's worked out fantastic. And
I might have read this wrong, but is the Bluebells playing there this year as a special? Or are you doing a special?
I think it's
Golden Tree.
The Golden Tree might be, but they've had to change the date because Graham's got a birthday thing on. But it's funny. Tina Brewick, people who live there, it's quite a lot of Celtic people involved out there too, living in their big houses, man. So all good.
Yeah, great. Yeah, so good. Best of luck with that. Right. So I'd literally have a pop quiz for you here. This was actually for someone else because Ralph is hoping to join us, but he's no managed. So the question doesn't really mean much to you because you'll know the answer. It was really for him. But for anyone listening, we'll give a quick 2-second pause. Okay, a pop quiz. Literally a pop quiz. What links Billy McNeil, Picasso, and Stalin?
Wow.
That's a pop quiz. Yeah, it's a pop quiz. So you of all people should know. I can give you a clue.
Oh, they're all on the cover of that record.
So this for anyone listening here, still listening, I am holding up a copy of the picture disc for the Bluebells Classic Sisters album, and I've got the picture disc which has Billy McNeil and Bobby Charlton shaking hands on it. It's got Picasso, it's got Stalin, and of course it's got the famous Kez. It's got the famous Kez iconography.
That's a great question. I'm going to use that all the time, man. That's good.
There you go.
Hey, what's my award? I want to find what is it? What am I getting sent in the post?
Oh, it'll be a golden E, but we can discuss it off camera. Right, but it was going to be a golden E, but we can always change it. Right. So that reminds me. Right. So Tam 2 on Blue Sky. He said they went to your gig at St. Luke's a few years ago. Sisters is one of the greatest albums. Where did the band get the album cover idea for? Was that yours or was that just the record artist?
No, it was me. I found this old when we were in America, I found this old magazine that had a Kodak. I'm not sure I had it here. Had a Kodak advert in it, and it was virtually that globe, with just coloured in squares. And then the guy Pete Barrett, who I'm friends with, who did the sleeve, he did a lot of sleeves, did all the jam sleeves and things like that. Right? We did it together, and we were just going to put in. It was me and Ken and David Russell putting in our family and friends and different things that influenced the record onto the into each kind of like slice of the world there. You know, I think it worked out great. I think it's a fantastic cover. You know.
So Billy McNeil and Bobby Charlton, was that there, or did you think I'm going to have a Billy McNeil reference in it somewhere?
No, well, the thing is, that was kind of unanimous. We found that in a comic, and one of those Shoot magazine comics, and it was like it was the first team to win the British team to win the European Cup, and the second team to win the European Cup.
Yeah, I was reading it. Yeah, it's like kind of because it's kind of from Bobby's perspective. Because I was wondering if it was the Bobby Charlton for the Bobby Bluebell touch.
Well, of course, that's why Bobby was in there. You got to get the Bobbies in there.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. So if anyone's interested, what links Billy McNeil, Picasso, and Stalin? The answer is the Sisters album cover. And I'd recommend going to Last Night from Glasgow, and you can get the lovely picture disc, which I was holding up there for Bobby. So that's highly recommended. Right. So I discussed the process earlier. And I've got here lyrics, tune, melody. What is your process? Could you capture your songwriting process as we come to the whole?
No process. I mean, sometimes if you're working with people like Johnny and Charlene, they'll probably have something they're working on already. Okay. Sometimes you've got something you're working on, and it's every way you can do it. Me and Ken, for instance, I'll tell you right how we did I'm Falling. I'm Falling was like 4 songs that we had in the Bluebells. Like I had 3 of the songs and Ken had 1. And the first bit was at the start was Last Night When You Were Crying, right? And then the second bit was the chorus. I've been falling on that. They were both different songs. Ken had the verse, Last night when you were crying, I wish that I was that. And that's all Ken, right? And at the end when I sing it, I should have known better. That was another song, but there were just bits, right? And then I think I was reading about the Beatles and how they just used to get bits of their songs and just put them all together, stitch them all together, and then it just worked. You know what I mean? And then a lot of the times I've done that a lot since then. For instance, you mentioned the poems there, and the funny thing about on one of the poem songs. We got the bits in the wrong. We put the bits in the wrong songs. You know what I mean? We planned. Me and Bobby had planned to put that bit of his song against one of mine's, but we ended up doing it on the wrong songs. It actually worked out better. So again, that's something I want to get into when we get back to A Tin of Brew, is to get people to write up one bit of the song and put them to another person's bit and see how that works together. Yeah, it's a good way of doing it.
Do you remember when you were a child, the old thing about folding a bit of paper? Somebody draws the head, somebody draws the body, somebody draws the legs.
Desi, that's a great way. That's a great way of doing it. And the thing is, it's like even with Elvis, we worked with Elvis Costello. Elvis would make up cassettes for us, right? Of songs that he'd liked that we'd never heard, and we would do the same back. And that starts a dialogue. You know what I mean? Right? And it gets you when you get to the studio, and you can start saying things like, for instance, like Kath. Elvis wasn't there the day we did Kath, but we it was basically us trying to do Maggie May, right? It was called Kathy K for a bit, right? Right, and hence the mandolin bit at the end, right? But it's nothing like Maggie May. It was just. We were just trying to think of a girl's name, an upbeat, easy song for us to do, and then at the end with the key change, it was dying to do a key change, dying to do mandolin, and it all worked out really, really well. I mean, I love that song, and like that came about just by us having a day off because Elvis wasn't well,
Yeah, great. Finally, so that I had a few listeners' questions. So Podrick, that answers the question. He asked who was Kath, and Quintessential asked why did I take a lot to make her brackets me laugh? I don't know if you remember last night. He apologised because he got the question wrong. so that was fine.
It takes him. It was just. I think you get it. It just sounded good. I wanted to. We were trying to be Scottish. And I know the Proclaimers did it better than us, right? But we were there first, right? We were trying to make people aware that how some words in Scottish, like cath and path, rhyme. Do you know what I mean, right? Like it takes a lot to make me laugh, right? Because we say laugh is, very right. So, and people go, it's terrible rhyming, right? But for me, it's fantastic rhyming. It makes me laugh. Do you know what I mean, right? And we're allowed to have a bit of humour in songs,
Definitely. Right. So that perfectly segue. You think we'd coordinated this? Perfect segue. You mentioned the Proclaimers there. I was listening to Stonehouse. Where's my link? Where's my question? Hold on. I lost my question from Hector. Yeah, Stonehouse Violets this morning. And it reminded me of like the Proclaimers Kilmarnock Blues when they're talking about he should have signed Hibs goal, etc. So Hector loves Stonehouse Violets, right?
I love it too.
I think it's, to be honest, I think it's because of the Shettleston opener. Because it mentions Shettleston and he's an East End boy, right? But here's the question: should there be more songs devoted to Scotland's love affair with football?
Who does the most songs?
Oh, should there be more songs?
Oh, absolutely. There should be more songs about. I mean, absolutely. I mean, Ken wrote that song, and Ken's boy played for, I guess, a lot of those teams when he was playing junior football, and that's how Ken got the inspiration. Ken was going to all those grounds, right? And it's a real commitment when you're a father, to drive there and hang about, and watch the game and then come back. So Ken used his time wisely by writing a song about it. A beautiful song too. Yeah, but
I'm like the amount. If anyone's not heard it, please go and listen to Stonehouse Violets from the Bluebells in the 21st century. So you're talking about a new album. That was 39 years between those albums. So how long can we expect between the Bluebells in the 21st century and Bluebells in the 20? What century would it be?
That's still the 21st century, but we start recording that in April in Airdrie. So, and that should be out next year, starting next year. We haven't got a title yet, but we'll make one up.
That sounds good. I'm sure everyone's looking forward to that. Right, so
I might call it Lennon.
Well, even better. Perfect. I did have a question earlier on. I was going to ask you, who's the most famous Celt in your phone bar, Lenny? Even Celtic. It didn't mean a Celtic player. This famous like Celtic fan or somebody you. Who would that be? You any idea? You can name drop as much as you like here.
Well, Frank would be the next one, obviously, man. I think, to be fair, I'm trying to think now who would be after that, man. Most of them are like Marty Pello, Rangers fan, Graham Skinner, Rangers fan. I'm trying to think who's the most famous. Doogie from Travis, Rangers fan. Try to think who the most famous Celtic fan would be out of that lot then. Jim Lambie, I'll go for him.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's right. Right. So that's right. I know we're running. You're tight for time. It's rehearsals week also, I believe, for the Barrowlands gig. Is that right? So that's good. So let's have a quick 5 minutes on Young at Heart, if you don't mind. Right. No. So Young at Heart. I looked up today. 10.5 million plays on Spotify. I mean, like that must get. I'm not talking about the financial reward. I just mean the whole warm feeling to write a song that touches so many people. And before I forget, let me just say here, apologies, Bobby. Let me just say here, where is it? Hector says, "Can you fully appreciate?" And he's getting very sentimental in his old age. That man, ever since he became a granddad, right? He says, Hector asks, "Can you fully appreciate how much Young at Heart feels to all cunts like me about our parents and our younger lives with them?"
Well, that's exactly what it's about. And I tell you, that's the one thing I've learned over the last 5 or 10 years. People used to hate Young at Heart because people thought it was like not everybody obviously, but it was number one for a long time, and it was very catchy and very annoying. So used to always hurt my feelings when I'd see on Twitter things like saying most hated song ever, right? But in the last few years, there's been a real kind of turnaround about that song. I think that when Ken and David sang it with the choir at Kelvin Grove, people began to realise that the words did mean something. You know what to me. You know, like I said about my father before and my mum, right? You know, 4 kids. You know, my father went and worked night shift, so I used to see my father when I went to school for 5 minutes in the morning, right?
Yeah.
And then 5 minutes at night when I came home from school because he was going to work. And then, so, you know, and then every child wants to leave home. Do you get my drift, right? We all want to be independent. So we're going around the world and doing all these things, and you're in a band, and right, you know. And it's only when you become a parent yourself, I think, that you really realise what they did for you, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I think that now that the song, the resonance of the song is no longer the fiddle and the chorus, I mean, and the fast pace. I think because it's dead funny. In the last weeks, I've been sent about 5 videos of people doing this at karaoke, right? You know, or singing it, you know, in unison together, and it's really moving. You know, it's really great to hear people. I mean, we played. I think what's the last gig we kind of did? It was I can't remember where we were on that tour. Edinburgh and Aberdeen and those places. People sing it to you. I mean, I know all bands go through that. For us, it's quite unusual, and it's a beautiful thing to hear. You know, it's beautiful people to hear singing "I'm Falling," Kathy, you know, "Young at Heart," back at you. You know, and as a songwriter, that's kind of like all you really wanted when you were, you know, becoming a songwriter. You know what I mean?
Well, if you'd have been in Cathkin Park in the early 80s, you'd have heard "I'm Falling" being sung loud and proud, badly on a Friday night. I could have guaranteed you that. But you know, as you say, it's made that whole kind of working class, your mum and dad having to work and basically get you through your life. Well, I was in Tory Glen. My dad's a plasterer, so he was away early morning. Same idea, coming in all dirty. My mum worked in Greg's with Jim Kerr's mum, Irene, in the Greg's in Tory Glen. So
Brilliant.
So as I was growing up, like, some of mines were like, I always call them Tory Glen's finest, but that was your local boys made good. I mean, like they were like this.
Yeah, they were
still heroes to a lot of people, especially in Tory Glen. That whole kind of, they've made it, and there was none of that cutting people down that Scottish people get accused of. It was that whole, well done, you've made it, and they're heroes to this day in Tory Glen and beyond.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, it's funny, Simple Minds, I used to go see them every week at the Mars Bar, you know, and like they really, I mean, I know you had Alex Harvey's and all that and things before, right? But they were really the start of the Scottish music scene, the modern music scene that led to all those bands we mentioned before getting record deals, Lloyd Cole's and everybody having chart hits, you know, Travis's. I think it all began with Simple Minds, to be really honest, you know.
Yeah, right. So I did have a lot on Young or Fat. Let's just because I want to touch on, you just mentioned something that I really want to touch on. So Young at Heart being number one, how did that feel as good as people imagine it feels, being number one?
Yeah, that was like winning the European Cup for us. I mean, it's because when we first started out, we actually had the gumption to say we want to be on top of the pops, we want to be number one in the charts, you know.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like we were kidding on. We really meant it. I mean, the whole point of us was we wanted to be. I mean, top of the pops. People don't get how important it was. You know, back then, that was really important to your parents, because like we all gave up chances of proper jobs, if you know what I mean, right? You know, it's a bit like you in football, right? And I mean, me and Neil talk about this a lot in Frank. It's really hard to make it in football, probably even harder than it is to make it as a band, right? But when you become a professional football player, we became professional musicians, winning a cup or a trophy is how you celebrate that. With being in a band, being on top of the pops is the European Cup final. It's Wembley. You know, that's the thing that everybody in the whole of Britain sees you on, you know, and then that's when you can finally say, oh, we've achieved what we set out to do, you know.
Yeah. So in Top of the Pops, what was that again? I know it's long gone and it's been painted a little with various other aspects, but back in the day, how did it feel? I know I think there's a famous story you coming back off of training and into the Alpine Lodge, something like that.
No, it was Colin Barr's place. Is it West George Street? We came off the train and Colin. It was called the Lounge, the place.
All right.
It was a great bar, and Colin Barr said, when you come back, come down, I'll keep the bar open, we'll have a drink, right? You know. So when we came back, the place was all dark and locked up, and I was going, and Ken and David and as we're going, oh fuck, we must be too late, you know. And then we were banging the door, and eventually you heard the door open, and Colin was there, and he goes, come in. It was all dark. He says, where were you? You know. And as soon as we walked in, all the lights went on, and the whole bar was full, and they were all singing "Young at Heart," man. And it was really, even now I get my spine tingling about that, you know, because it was a wonderful way a wonderful thing to do. Because me, Ken and David, we were mad clubbers, you know, like we were all sub clubs and everything at the time. Every night of the week, you know, I was DJing a lot as well, and that's why we had that no curfew thing on my guitar when we did Christmas Tops the Pops. So we were a big part of the club scene, and it was great to see all your clubbers, you know, your contemporaries there celebrating your success, you know. And which you hit that on the head, you know. The Simple Minds, Glasgow's great for that. I don't think there's any resentment in Glasgow when you get success, you know. I think people are really happy for you.
Yeah. So if you're number one, do you get the biggest dressing room at top? Did you get the biggest dressing room at Top of the Pops?
I can't remember. I mean, I remember being next to people like we met Barry Manilow and Cliff Richards, and you know the Bunnymen were there. Deacon Blue were there at one time. I remember my biggest surprise was New Order, how miserable they were. You know how.
Oh, you were surprised they were miserable?
No, but I'm surprised that they were doing the television show and not trying to enjoy it. I mean, you know, like it was like a real slog for them, you know what I mean? Whereas for us, it was like every bit of it was, we just loved every bit of it.
Yeah, I mentioned the Bunnymen there. I did meet Ian McCulloch going into Parkhead once with John McLaughlin, because Celtic were playing Liverpool. So he was up, and he was also in the company of Mark Owen from Take That.
Yeah, brilliant,
They two ended up doing the Paradise Windfall at half time. Ian McCulloch and Mark Owen.
Well, I worked a lot with Ian. Ian was up. We worked together on his record up here. You know, Ian, can I tell you a good story about doing the half-time thing? Remember Phil Daniels, who used to be in for Cordofino? I was working with him in a film up here once, so I took him to Parkhead, right? And they were playing a friendly against Lazio, and so at half-time the guy said, "Do you and Phil want to go down and present, I mean, before starting the game, and give the team the pennants and the salvers before the start of the game?" So we introduced onto the pitch, right? You know, ladies and gentlemen, introducing, you know, welcoming the teams is Bobby Bluebell and Paul Daniels. And Phil turns to me and goes, "You're a fucking bastard, aren't you?" Because I told the guy to say Paul Daniels, man, right? So we gave the teams the pennants and salvers, went back up. Great guy, Phil, but he's a brilliant guy. Took it in good spirit, but you know.
Magic. I mean, right. So before we forget, John Malloy did ask, did you ever get a Volkswagen GTI as part of the advert?
No, to be fair, we did ask. You know, man, the guy told us to fuck off, fair enough. But we got the money, but which is
that's fair enough. Right, okay. So
we got to meet that gorgeous model who was in the.
Oh yeah, on the cover.
Yeah, she was a great girl, by the way. Brilliant girl.
And your good friend, and a big St Johnstone and Hipsway fan, because I met him at a few Hipsway gigs. Colin McAvennie asked Bobby, how come you're so good in classic style?
That's a quote from a film, by the way. That's a very actor joke, you know what I mean?
Right, okay, right. So so I know you're tight for time, but this quickly, I wanted to talk. So I did have here, when the music stops, do you start? And I had start playing records, because I know you're doing a DJ, so you mentioned the Sub Club and that there, right? But now I've kind of moved on to start playing golf, because your golf seems to be a big part of your life, right? So E. Harvey Ward had asked me to ask you about your famous 100-yard putts. So is golf a big part of your life now?
It is. Well, E. Harvey, his real name's Gordon. He's a member down at Western Gales in down near Irvine, and it's a fantastic golf course, right? But it's a links course, so a lot of the holes, you as well just, instead of trying to chip all in, because it's going to come off the green, right, or try and land it on the green, you're best just putting at 100. So I used to do 100 massive putts there, and guess what? I beat him with them.
Nice.
He's a great golfer, but guess what? I never managed to do it ever again. But I would recommend the 100-yard putt in any links golf course, to be honest, man.
Good, well done. Now, the only one I remember is Terry Wogan was the longest ever televised putt.
I saw it. We watched that.
And then it beat recently due to some guy in some tournament. That actually beat it after, say, 30 odd years. Right, Gary McFarlane asks, what's your favourite golf course and what's your favourite castle? So
Gary McFarlane is the pro at Clydebank Golf Course. He's a fantastic golfer. And my favourite golf course, as he well knows, is Cruden Bay, because he took me up there. I thought you
were going to say Dalmuir there when you said...
No, and every single person we met at Cruden Bay, everybody, the locals, the staff, every golfer kept pointing at the castle up on hill and saying, do you know that's Dracula's castle? So we get told 55 times that's Dracula's castle, man, right? So for a laugh about when we went back into the clubhouse after we played, we asked everybody, excuse me, do you know what castle that is up there?
If you need to consider a new album cover, that may be a wee prompt.
It could be Dracula's Castle, could be the name of the next album. We could go goth.
There you go, right? A nice wee pivot. Right, two golf questions left. What's better, a hole-in-one or a number one?
I've had 2 holes in one and only one number one.
Right. So what's winning then at this point? What do you think? What did you get more joy out of? The hole-in-one at golf or the number one in the single?
Oh, the number one single.
Nice. Right, okay. Here's a dream scenario for you. What would be name your pop-tastic 4-ball at golf? Have you right? So I've got the only ones. This is the only ones I know. I didn't look them up. The only musicians that I know play golf are Glenn Campbell, Alice Cooper, Lloyd Cole, Ronan Keating, and Bing Crosby. But you may know a lot more than I do. So
Iggy Pop.
Oh, sorry, that's right. So, are we having Iggy Pop in?
Yeah, and I played golf with Dennis Hopper. He loved golf. Played with him a couple of times, But those ones you mentioned, good. But my favourite 4-ball would obviously have Frank and Neil in it, and a guy called Brian Mellon as well. He'd been there too, man. But
right.
But that's the best thing about golf is you're meeting hundreds of great people and you're spending a lot of time with them, Anyone got E. Harvey Ward's a great guy to play golf with as well, man, Gary is a great guy to play golf with. Unfortunately, Gary can drive nearly every green in Britain, so you've got no chance against Gary, man. He hits the ball a phenomenal distance.
Right, so no tails off the golf course, but is Lenny as bad a loser on the golf course as you would expect?
I couldn't possibly comment.
Okay, right, fair enough.
The worst loser is McAvennie, but Frank McAvennie's the worst loser, man, of all time, man.
There you go.
He never loses, but because he always wins, but he's the worst.
Right, okay, well done, Frank. Right, so apologies we're already running over. Apologies. 2 things. The Golden Tree, you and Graham's collaboration. So season 2, or volume 2, Scottish Songs Observed volume 2, has this been released? The Golden Tree. How much fun have you had doing that? Selecting.
Well, I did. We did both of them in this very room. I'm sitting in here. We did everything in here. Me and Graham did. I played everything on this little keyboard under here, on my guitars nearby. But Graham sang everything. I sang a little bit. We did it all in here. It was very comfortable and easy to do. I really enjoyed doing it. By the way, Graham's a very good golfer as well. Another musician golfer. I love doing it. I mean, it came about, because it's like I just had a lot of time in my hand for a while, no reason why, and I just thought I'd start. If you're a songwriter, when you work out how to do these songs, it really helps you a lot, man. They're all, Scottish songs. They're all written by Scottish writers, and they're so different, and such brilliant songs, and we really enjoyed doing it. We've got one more. I think we're going to do one more volume, and that'll be us. I think volume 3 would probably be the last one.
Right. So if anyone is listening, check out the Golden Tree Scottish Songs Observed. Available last night in Glasgow. You'll get volumes 1 and 2 there, various formats and downloads. Especially if you want to catch up with January sitting alongside Shang-a-Lang. That's a classic pairing. You know what I mean? Right.
I enjoyed doing that one, but that's actually a really beautiful, really good lyric as well. Talking about, remembering your past. I think it's another song that people don't rate because but it's a great song. Right.
Okay. So that's the Golden Tree. So please, everyone, check out Last Night in Glasgow for the poems, the Golden Tree. But now we come to February the 1st. Preempt the main joke here. Celtic Connections. Bluebells play the Barrowlands. Did you think it was Celtic Connections? That's why they were shouting, asking you to play it.
That's what everyone did. Everyone that comes to play Celtic Connections assumes that Celtic will do it.
So was it the launch night the other night? I think you'd put up a few things. Was it the launch night? Everything go well?
One of the best nights we've ever had. I mean, that stage is fantastic. The musicians are fantastic. The organisation is fantastic. The people are so professional. We couldn't have had a better time at that. And what a buzz doing the song with an orchestra behind you and those musicians. It was incredible. Loved it. I wish I could do it every night.
February 1st, the Barrowlands.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it. Is it really the first time the band's played there? Is it the first time you played there, or have you played there before?
Well, when we were going, it wasn't a venue. It wasn't until Simple Minds had Waterfront that it became a venue again, and we were kind of done by then. But we played it at the Scottish Music Awards. We did Young at Heart, when we got an award, and we did it with Frankie Miller. When Frankie Miller was still alive, we all did a Frankie Miller tribute night. He sang with the band. Lots of musicians were involved in that, and then Ken and David have done it a few times I think as the McCluskey brothers, but I've never done it. And also one time I did it with Gunn. I did the encore with Gunn. Bastards. We were doing Teen Spirit, right? And I was supposed to do the solo. They pulled my lead out.
What, on purpose?
On purpose.
Because I'd actually written here, have you really never played there at all, brackets, were you never invited to the old Squeeze Christmas gigs? I don't know if you remember when Squeeze used to come up and do a Christmas gig at the Barrowland, and Justin Curry, I seen Justin Curry support them, and Gary Clark and Squeeze singing Waterloo Sunset as an encore is still one of my Barrowland highlights. That was brilliant.
That sounds great.
I was wondering if maybe you'd ever been invited along to these sort of things. So the band, these are in rehearsal, everything going well, looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited about it. I mean, I can't believe that many people are going to come and see us. I mean, the ticket sales have been fantastic, and I mean, we were asked to do it before, but we always thought we weren't big enough to do it. You know what I mean? So we're really surprised, man, and can't wait to do it now. And can't wait for the after party.
So you're preempting me, because Hector in his finest, Hector and he now lives in the suburbs the north of the city, let's say. He's even travelling in, so he's looking forward to the gig with his wife. I'll be there with my friend. Hector in his finest East End chancer. We did ask, is there a free bar at the after show party?
There's a free bar. No.
The after show party.
But there'll be a party. I mean, I don't know. I'm a doubt there'll be a free bar, man. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's possible, but certainly I would doubt it very much, man.
Surely when you're a Glasgow,
can you imagine you wouldn't get paid enough to even have a free bar in Glasgow?
Exactly. But surely that's the whole point. Like, when you're a Glasgow legend, people want to buy you a drink, and that's I used to work in London. Don't know if you found the same experiences working, but up here, if you go for leaving drinks, people who are leaving buy the drinks, whereas in London, people buy you a drink because you're leaving, whereas in London, I was expecting to buy a drink when I was coming back home. That kind of attitude's totally different.
I don't know. I must admit, I'm not a great believer in free bars anyway. To be fair, I mean, there's no such thing as a free lunch. It's the one thing you find out in the music business. I mean, there's a free bar. I don't know. Is there? I'm trying to think. Last time I ever went somewhere there was a free bar.
I was just say, ultimately somebody's paying for it somewhere.
I mean, usually at a funeral, you'll get a drink, you know what I mean? But yeah.
Right. So perfect last question. Right. So everybody listening, please try. I think there may be a ticket or two still available. Hopefully not. But if there is, please come along.
Well, has Ken said? Ken said at the concert hall there's 10 tickets left, and a guy shouted out from the audience, 9 now. I've just bought one online.
Oh, there you go.
which I thought was quite funny, man. You know.
Hotcakes. So there you go. So please try and snap up. If they're probably gone by now. But that funeral note brings us to a perfect final question, right? And all the things you've done in your career, Bobby, working with Elvis Costello, Edwyn Collins, all the people you've met in your life and worked with, again, Brian Wilson's, etc., etc. Does anything beat appearing on Still Game?
And I doubt it. I doubt that too, man. Yeah, I mean that. Honestly, that was just a perfect marriage. You couldn't have got a better song for a better program at a better time. You know, like I think whoever thought of it, if it was Bobby, I think it was Bobby, the barman. Whoever thought of it is genius, because you know, and having Claire Grogan on it as well, man, you know, and all different pop Mansure and things was genius as well, you know. It was a great storyline. It was the second last episode of Still Game before they all died off, and and we had the best day doing that. It was brilliant fun.
I'm trying. What's the guy's name who plays Bobby again? Gavin Mitchell. I'm sure I saw him on stage with Hipsby. Maybe.
Yeah, Gavin's very into his music and his clubbing scene too, man. You know, I tell you what, that's another bit of genius casting. Him as a barman is just a genius casting, you know.
Yeah. So that was somebody did ping. How did it feel to be in Still Game? Right. So I can only apologise for running over. We were meant to finish 15 minutes ago. So final point prediction for Wednesday night. Biggest game of the season. Celtic versus Young Boys. What do you think?
I think any of us would take any kind of win. You know what I mean? Right? I mean, I know they haven't got any points. So that worries me, because the law of averages that suck against Rangers worry me. But I think we've got a really good team. We've got a really good manager. We've got a fantastic stadium, fantastic fans. I can't see past us winning. You know what I mean? So get behind the team. That's the thing that people have got to understand. Don't. I mean, stop getting on players' backs, man, and stop. You know, there's a lot of things you don't know that are going on in football. You know, other teams are good too. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. I was going to ask you, what do you think your predictions for the hospitality? Do you think the pies will be steak or mince? What are you thinking for your hospitality box?
I've never had. The box we go to don't have pies.
Oh, sorry. You just get quiche. And I get slagged for being in the main stand, but you're above me in the main stand. You're the other level.
I took my wee boy to his first ever game, right? David Lowe's box. Right? My wee boy's 13, right? It was his first time at Parkhead. And then next day, I heard him on the phone to his pals going, he says, football's great. He says, you get a butler.
See, you can take the boy out of Govan.
They bring you anything you want, and I'm thinking, oh my God, already he's ruined. And a week later, we took him to see Thistle, right? We got invited to the director's box at Thistle to watch, and so he brought his pals along, right? So we're in the dugout at the start, and he's getting all taken around and everything. So we get taken to our seats, and we're sitting in our seats, and he goes to me, Dad, what are we doing here? And he goes, we're outside.
Exactly. Where's the man in the bow tie with a tray?
I mean, listen, so you've got to be very careful, right? You know what I mean? Right, what you do. So his first question is, we took him last week back to the box again, so he was all happy.
Well, so remember, there you go. So if you're ever struggling for a song idea, there's one sitting right in front of you. You know what I mean? The evolution of the football fan. Right. So that's the box. There you go. So that's us. So this left for me. Thank you very much, Bobby, for joining us. But honestly, God, I had a million other questions, so we'll maybe even try and arrange something post gig. I know you've got a Newcastle gig also later this year. Any festival plans? Any festival plans at all?
We've got a really big festival this year, but we can't announce it till they announce it.
Okay.
But we've got a few, and we're doing North Berwick, and we're doing a lot of festivals. To be honest, we're doing Butte soon for our good friends.
Is North Berwick not the one next to the nice golf course?
It's got the best golf courses, and we go there every year anyway. I tell you what, it's the best festival I've ever been in my life. Dale and Michu played there, Texas played there. It's a fantastic location. It's so well run. It's absolute luxury for a festival goer, man. There's no horrors at it at all, man. There's nothing horrible about it whatsoever.
Well, very good. So that's a wee hint of a big.
Oh, by the way, I would recommend you get Ken on too. Your show, because
was it Ken that did the Celtic story? Celtic did it first.
Yeah,
I went to that.
Ken's got some great Celtic stories, man.
Okay, right, okay, I will do that. I'll reach out to Ken, so that was good. So very best of luck. Hopefully I will see you at the February 1st gig. Maybe we come on stage and give you your award.
Make sure that happens, yeah.
If not, Hector and I will try and see you at the after party. I'll buy the drink, because us Southsiders, we don't worry about paying for drink, unlike the EastEnders.
I think it'll be okay for drinks. Don't worry.
That's fine. We'll get you a bottle of wine somewhere. They're not drinking your wine these days. All right, so it's just left for me to say thank you very much, Bobby. Very best of luck, and we look forward to the big announcement festival-wise. All right. Thank you very much.
See you February 1st. Take care now.
See you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. As always, folks, please like and subscribe where you can. Please let us know if you enjoyed the podcast, and we always look forward to any comments. I'll leave you with a lovely song from Bobby Bluebell and the guys. Thank you very much. Good night.